Hello, adventurer. It's good to see you. You have made it to the morning grind.
Welcome, welcome.
It's the live stream at the beginning of the Geekverse, where we talk about all types of topics in geekdom, gaming, and fantasy, with an emphasis on being constructive and creating the things that we want to exist in the world.
It's all on the grind, Sizemore. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
That's exactly right. There are a lot of adventures to be had today. Dungeons to explore and monsters to slay, and who knows what a random encounter might send our way. That's why we have to prepare, so settle in now for the morning grind with your favorite beverage in hand.
Tea? Or maybe something a little stronger. I've got a few bottles of the old Wynyard left.
Whatever you want. Pull up a chair.
Dude.
If you're feeling fancy, how about a cappuccino? Or a frappuccino? Or how about an espresso?
Just tea, thank you.
Sounds good to me, Gandalf. Whatever you want. I'm just glad you're here.
Everyone is welcome. You can just watch if you want. You don't have to worship anything you don't want to worship.
Thank you, Mike. But be forewarned.
Sometimes we get really strange characters around here.
Wait, what's that you say? Why can't you come and be a part of the stream?
My wife would disown me.
Oh no, I bet she'll be fine with it. Come on in.
Am I scared for my safety? No.
What are we supposed to do?
Everybody do the secret handshake.
Secret cultist handshake.
Oh, now do wizards who love each other.
This, my friend, is a science.
I still don't have gifts, but it's fine.
It's all on the grind, son. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
Dude, this would be a sick place to bring the band.
Indeed it would be, Dave. It really would. I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome, glad to have you here. Oh look, here's someone new.
Is this the cultist meetup?
Yes it is.
Come to hang out? Please accept me. I have nothing else.
Okay, we accept you. Everyone's welcome here.
Brought some snacks.
Well, that makes things even better.
You want some coffee? I don't drink coffee. You sure? It's cultist coffee. What makes it cultist coffee? I'm a cultist and I'm drinking it. Oh. Then I'll have some.
What exactly is going on here?
I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. It's so great to have you. Oh, and look, here comes another stranger.
Can we help you?
Yes, fellow cultists. I could really use some food.
Oh yeah? Welcome. We have donuts.
Oh, it's me. I'm glad I'm here. I'm sure you have a few questions for me, though.
What's your name? Who do you work for? What god do you worship?
Great questions, Rob.
I'm Steve King, and I worship Nyarlathotep.
No, not really. I'm just Heath, and I won't be worshiping anything this morning. But I will be your host. Welcome to the office. We're going to have a great time. I've got my coffee ready, because now it's time for the morning grind.
If you could become a fish, that would be amazing. Then I could command you with my mental fish powers.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the morning grind. It is great to see you this morning. A couple of minutes late, but I was looking for some things for the stream today on War of Kings, and I couldn't find some of them, but oh well. Good morning, everybody. I've got water this morning. I wasn't able to brew coffee even this morning. Things still not going well here. Got to get back on schedule. I got myself off of schedule about 2 weeks ago. So tonight, this afternoon, we might actually go through. We probably should do some big rock writing down. Try to get ourselves on schedule for today, because I would like to maybe come up with some type of list of things we want to do before we do a Crafter's Corner tonight. We'll do a Crafter's Corner tonight because I'm still tired of having all these miniatures sitting here on this desk. They just need to get done. So who all is here today? Let's see. Stray is here. Daniel is here. Good morning. Good morning. Retro Nerd Girl is here this morning. Brent is also here. Zero the Blade. Good morning, Zero the Blade. Wormwood, Millmaster says, Wormwood gaming in my dining room, building a prophecy as we speak. Oh, interesting. Vision is here. Good morning, Vision. Draco. And let's see. Draco is here. So, all right. So good to see everybody. So what we're going to be taking a look at is War of Kings, which is the game that I designed with my brother. This was several years ago, and we took to Kickstarter. And back when it was Kickstarter, was kind of the Wild West, kind of late in that phase, but still basically really early in the crowdfunding campaign. And so I'll talk about its design, its development. We'll take a look at its rules and things like that. Hey, Andrew. Good morning, Andrew. And talk about its rules, development, design, that kind of thing today. So I'm looking forward to it. We should have probably done one of these earlier, but this is a good day for it. So, all right, let's go over to the morning messages really quick, and then we will get started with War of Kings. The Morning Grind is brought to you by World Anvil. For all the RPG players out there, World Anvil offers extensive character management, including character sheets, journals, inventory, and spellbook. Everything a player looking to lose themselves in their character could want. Use the code MORNINGGRIND to get 40% off yearly subscriptions. The Morning Grind is also brought to you by the Cool Name RPG. Cool Name will provide design aids, tools, and resources that make it easier than ever for third parties to make new compatible content. Support its development now on Kickstarter. And thank you for being here with me live on The Morning Grind. And if you're watching on replay, welcome to you as well. It's great to have you here. If you're enjoying The Morning Grind, please click the like button and subscribe to the channel if you're not already. It will really help the channel grow, and I would be very thankful. We also have the Ravenkeep Discord server you can join if you would like to be a part of the community. Alright, that's what you need to know. Let's get to the main topic. Oh, let's see here. So, okay, so Millmaster's talking about, so I know Wormwood. But Millmaster says that Prophecy is the world's most awesome gaming table. Do we need to look that up? Prophecy gaming table from Wormwood. Maybe I have seen this one. No, stop bringing up pictures. Reversible play surface, spill-resistant dining topper. The lift mechanism. So this does look really nice. My Carolina game tables. I've got a Carolina game table coffee table, and I played. Baloo has the gigantic, whatever the what are they called, monstrous or the Colossus gaming table or something like that. Tablezilla. That's it. Tablezilla that we played on when we were playing in Lou's games. This does look nice. This does look nice. All right. Good morning, Zero Theory. All right. Well, let's hop over here. I have got a digital version of the rules right here, so I'm going to add this to the stream. Here we go. All right, so basically, my brother and I, what is going on? There. Okay, so here we go. So basically, my brother and I, let's see, when did we publish this? I'm sure this has got we got a date in here. So this came out in 2014. Oh, so coming up, so 9 years ago. So this was a while when I first kind of entered this arena. The story here was that I had gone, my brother and I used to play online video games. He bought not War of Kings. He brought World of Warcraft for me when I was going up to Illinois to do my PhD. So he was down in Alabama, and I guess we're looking for some way to be able to kind of stay in touch with each other. And so he was a big WoW gamer. I wasn't necessarily on the digital side of things. And my side of things is much more on the tabletop side of things. But he did a lot of WoW playing. And he bought it for me when I went up to Illinois to do my PhD. And then he and I made a regular opportunity, made regular scheduled sessions to sit and play. And basically we would just catch up and hang out, but we would play World of Warcraft while we were doing it. So we did that while I was up in Illinois. And that was basically my experience with World of Warcraft. Then later, soon after that, Diablo 3, while I was up in New York, that's while I was up in New York, Buffalo, New York. Then when I got a job over in Illinois, we also started playing Diablo 3 because we were big Diablo fans. So we were playing some Diablo 3 to kind of keep in touch as well. I went off to what we called the Formal, which was basically a meeting of several of my bunch of my different friends. We would like rent a big house in the mountains or on the beach or something like that, oscillating back and forth and just hang out and just hang out with friends who could all get together. And one of my friends at that time, so this may have been like 2012 or something like that, had brought this game Zombicide. And hey, do you want to play? You want to play board games? Let's play Zombicide. I was like, sure, let's play. I like playing board games. So I was playing the Zombicide, and he was like, where'd you get it? And he said, well, I got it off Kickstarter. And I was like, what's Kickstarter? Because, you know, the original Zombicide game was one of the big ones, one of the first really big ones. So he had it sitting there at the game. So this was at the time after that had already been crowdfunded and then published and manufactured and sent out to all the backers. And we were sitting there playing the original Zombicide. But I was like, what's Kickstarter? And so then that kind of came to dominate my life for several years. That's how I figured out what Kickstarter was. So, and then when I came back to talking to my brother, I was like, hey, I came back from the formal and started talking to my brother again. I was like, hey, we're sitting here spending time playing Diablo 3, but I just heard of this really cool thing. It's called Kickstarter. Check this out. We should, instead of sitting here playing a game, we should sit here and design a game in our time and then see if we could take it to Kickstarter and see if we could actually get it funded and manufactured. And he was like, well, that does sound like a good idea. So why don't we do that? So we decided to basically overnight stop all of our online gaming together and instead went to develop our own game, which is this right here, which is War of Kings. At the time, this was also part of the time when Catan, the Settlers of Catan, was really at its heyday. So, and of course, we played a lot of Settlers of Catan. And one of the ideas that we had was like, well, we really like playing Settlers of Catan, but we would really like to also be able to send out an army to go and burn somebody's village down, because it can be really aggravating when somebody goes and builds their village or their town or whatever it is, or city or whatever it was in Catan, and then you can't actually do anything about it. You know, it's not that kind of game. You were not raising an army to go and burn something down. So, but we decided that's what we wanted. So one of our ideas was to sort of combine, and I think a reasonable way to talk about War of Kings is to kind of combine Risk and Settlers of Catan, because we wanted the kingdom building, we wanted the resource management, we wanted all of that, but we also wanted some kind of combat system in it about raising armies and going to war and fighting in campaigns. So that was the original idea when we were trying to come up with War of Kings. And there are videos. If you look up at War of Kings on the YouTube channel, there's how to play on my YouTube channel. There's how to play videos. There's behind the scenes videos. Oh, you know what? There's some blooper videos that we should watch. But you know, I guess let me. I wonder if I also have. Wondering. I just have to get to them online. Oh, well, now here we go. So, you know, I think it's an interesting, in fact, an interesting kind of lesson as well, because we were talking about this specifically with Jamie Stegmeyer. It's like, well, how do you, Jamie, when we were talking about this, what was it, 2 nights ago when we were working on the Crafter's Corner, and he was saying that he didn't think that he could replicate the success of his current company with Kickstarter and doing the same kind of thing today. And that was because things have changed. You know, times change. So this is actually kind of an interesting thing. Let's go and take a look at the original Kickstarter page, because this is also, I think, instructive in that, because like I said, this was when Kickstarter was still kind of the Wild West. We were when War of Kings launched, it was still very early comparatively. And if you just did what we did again, today, I don't think it would work at all. It worked then, but it didn't work. I don't think it would work again. I need. I think so. So even though the created projects, come on. Even though you can still go there and see the original Kickstarter page. even if somebody went back and went, oh, well, gee, I can totally do that. Ah, here it is. Let's take a look at this. Even if you went back and said, hey, well, I could totally do that. Well, you probably could, but it's probably not going to do anything remotely close to what it did back then. So let me see. Stop screen sharing, present, screen share. So this is the original War of Kings Kickstarter. This is exactly, what we ran years ago. So when was this? This was actually, well, see, I wish it starts telling you when things were last updated, but we want to know, like, hey, when did this campaign actually run? So Kickstarter no longer makes that particularly easy to find. So project launched February 15th, 2014. So this launched in February 15th. So almost 9 years ago, coming right up on 9 years ago. So this was my first kind of foray into tabletop game publishing. We raised $46,658 in order to publish this campaign back then, and we had 285 backers. And this is what the page looked like. What is War of Kings? So we've got miniatures of both villages, cities, and towns. And then we had the idea that you should have rings of fortifications because you want to be able to fortify your towns. So you want to be able to drop fortifications around them. So we painted all of these. This was all a handmade prototype. I was basically in charge of most of all of the prototyping. I remember building wooden prototypes, and then we had somebody else sculpt the pieces, and then I was making molds of them and casting extras. So War of Kings is a 2 to 6 player medieval strategy board game that combines exciting combat with well-balanced and engaging economic systems. Build settlements, fortifications, and roads while engaging other kingdoms in combat with your armies. Beautiful artwork and amazing miniatures make War of Kings a truly impressive game, complete with a money-back guarantee. We had some reviews from Jason at I Slay the Dragon. In essence, War of Kings distills the elements of grand strategy conquest into a compact and eminently playable experience without losing its epic flavor. And the Cardboard Republic. I wonder how those guys are doing. The War of Kings provides to be remarkably straightforward, challenging, and entertaining. So Carcassonne Freak did a review. I Slay the Dragon did. The Cardboard Republic. Today in Board Games podcast review, DJ Grandpa's Crib. Does anybody remember that? That was like some type of podcast or crowdfunding podcast early on. I was on that interview. I Slay the Dragon, I interviewed there. So you can see here are some of the miniatures that we had involved. Vision says, quick off-topic question. What edition was that Hero Quest you showed us a few episodes ago? 2021? What edition? If I showed it to you physically, it was the original edition. If I had it physically here, then it was the physical edition. Oh, well, no, of the main box, of the original box. If it was the expansions, the Elf, Mage of the Mirror expansion, or the Frozen Horror, those were the reprints. Those were the 2021 reprints. Okay, so Elf Quest. So yeah, I did hold that one up. Now, my original core set is from '89, but my Mage of the Mirror Elf Quest is the modern version. So Vision says, well, I just learned that Avalon Hill is owned by Hasbro. Avalon Hill is owned by Hasbro. So I'm still continuing to play Hero Quest. But yeah, Avalon Hill is owned by Hasbro. Elf Quest, Mike says, is an expansion for Hero Quest. Hasbro doesn't own Elf Quest. So what makes this game unique? Simultaneous play. All 6 players collect resources, trade, recruit armies, construct settlements, and fortify their kingdom simultaneously. I'm really proud of that part of this game because we wanted to have people building stuff. But man, when we were playtesting, it took forever for people to go around and like, now it's your turn. Now you build what you want to build. Now you build what you want to build. So we just said, hey, can't we just have everybody doing this at once? And that worked so much better. We had, so everybody collects all their resources and then everybody builds out their kingdom at once. Then you go around the table for ordering armies and doing combat, but you do all of your resource management and kingdom building simultaneously. So it's a flurry of activity on the at the table during that phase of the game, and I really like that. The Maladorian Marauders. The card-based mechanic lets the players take control of a non-player horde and wreak havoc with their neighbors. From Jason at Ice Slay the Dragon, simply put, this mechanic alone is worth the investment in the game. Minimal setup time, active combat. This combat system in War of Kings engages both the attacking and defending player. We've talked about both active offense and active defense in board games before. And so because we're just talking about Hero Quest, because we were talking about how Hero Quest was very influential on me and gaming, and Hero Quest has active defense and active offense, we use that same kind of system for combat in War of Kings. So if you're attacked, you both attack and you roll dice to defend. Balance. War of Kings strikes a balance between military conquest and management of your kingdom's economy. Both will be necessary to conquer the land of Arrowith, which is just the land that we made up for this. Does anybody also know? I've done an episode on this game as well. It's called Dragon Quest, right? No, Wizard's Quest. Wizard's Quest by Avalon Hill. So another Avalon Hill game. This is an old game. Wizard's Quest. Yep, Wizard's Quest. This game right here. Oh, yeah, I'm up. So that game right there. That game was also influential in the design of War of Kings because that game is very much like Fantasy Risk. I did a review on that before I was doing, I think it was actually before I was doing the live morning grind. But you can find the Wizard's Quest. I've got that game sitting over here. And even the look of its board was kind of inspired. Now, we went back and looked at it and we went, hey, do you remember we could use something that's like the Wizard's Quest board? We went back and we looked at Wizard's Quest, and it did look very 1970s. So we kind of upgraded it. Zero Theory says, I'm a fan of simultaneous turns. Zero Theory says, used to have some seriously long Axis and Allies games where we would play side games between turns. I completely believe that. Do we have a link for this? Yes, we do have a link for this. Let me find that. Because I have a few left. So here is actually the page for it. Right here. So this is on ravenkeep.net right now. So I thought they were all gone. I actually thought that all of my War of Kings game boxes were all gone. But a little while ago, I found a couple of cartons of them. So there were a couple of cartons left. And so I took them and I put them over. I sent them out to the warehouse to ship. So I've got the stock numbers actually on the website right now. I'll drop this in the link right now, in the chat right now. War of Kings on ravenkeep.net. So there is the link right there. Andrew says it would be way too much editing, but would be funny to have Heath, the host, interview Heath, the board game maker, and do a spoof for Table Talk or something like that where I interview myself. Good morning, Ryan. So because I found 2 more cartons of them, I did send them out to the warehouse. So there are 11 boxes, it says, of War of Kings still in existence that are out there and are capable of being ordered. So we got of course, the game comes unpainted, but the miniatures with you can see here that we've got the village, the town, and the city, and then you drop your ring of fortifications down over it. And I've got, so these, you can also get directly to some of the videos that are here on this YouTube channel. I've got a Catan Meets Risk, how to play in 5 minutes, the game trailer over here, and then also my explanation of Catan Meets Risk, Kingdom Building, and War. So if you want to check that out, you can also download the rules right here, because we're about to take a look at the rules here as well. But yes, so that is available over there, but there are only 11 boxes left. So there are not many of these. There weren't that many made in general, and we've had them for a while. I mean, a lot of them went out with the Kickstarter and things like that. Then we sold them at conventions and things like that for a little while, and online before we decided to, my brother decided to not do Rain Studios anymore, and I moved on to Infinite Black. And then I found a couple of boxes here. A couple of cartons over here with Ravenkeep. So I put them up there. Hey, Vanessa, good to see you. Good to see you. So let's go over here and let's go back to the rule book so we can just see how to play. So if you want one, these can ship out now. And also, by the way, I do have free shipping for orders of $99 or more on ravenkeep.net. So if you are thinking about picking up a War of Kings, you may want to do that because, like I said, there aren't that many of them right now. But then also, it's on sale for $59.99 right now. But it might be also a good time to pick up some other things like the armies on the like the miniature armies, or Cultist Coffee, Witch's Brew, mugs, something like that. Shop over there on ravenkeep.net. All right, let's go back to the rules though, so we actually figure out how to play, and I can talk about our design philosophy. Got to get this back up. Okay, so how do you play War of Kings, and what are we trying to do here? And by the way, you know, also we played War of Kings on Dinner and a Board Game. I believe it was episode 5 of season 1 of Dinner and a Board Game, and I did make a few adjustments to the rules in Dinner and a Board Game. So you could also see in the explanation of that the kinds of things that we play a little bit differently, because I would change up a few things. Oh, we only have 10 left now. Did somebody just order one? Fantastic. Did you get one? I hope you got one. So if you want to see it played, there is an entire game with a few modifications that I made on this channel, Dinner and a Board Game Season 1, Episode, I think 5. But if you look up Dinner and a Board Game and War of Kings, you'll find it. So War of Kings is a game of economic development and military strategy. To win, players must manage their kingdom's resources, explore new territories, and build magnificent cities and castles while they wage campaigns of conquest. But beware, the players are not the only forces vying for powers in Arrowith. The Malador, foreign marauders, have taken advantage of the chaos to satisfy their lust for conquest and plunder by ravaging the land. Each round, the players receive vital resources based on the territories they control and the settlements in those territories. They also generate gold by taxing trade revenue brought to their capital from the far reaches of their kingdom. Players use resources and gold to build new settlements, upgrade existing ones, connect them with roads, construct fortifications, and raise armies. Armies can be used to explore new territories and wage war against other kingdoms. Players accumulate achievement points for reaching economic and military milestones, such as controlling the largest kingdom or generating the most gold through an extensive trade network. The first player to accumulate 13 achievement points wins. So, we did have a double-sided board here. So it depends on what type of play experience you want, because they are different play experiences. We've got the summer side of the board and the winter side of the board. This was part of the this was part of actually a stretch goal that we reached. We said if we reached a certain stretch goal on Kickstarter, I believe, we designed a separate board. Mike says, what was the expansion for War of Kings? We never did an expansion for War of Kings. Now, there was some extra sets that were on the Kickstarter that had some additional stuff in them. But was there an expansion for War of Kings? So no, there was never any expansion that we did. We just did this one-off board game. So it never got expanded. We thought about it. We thought about it at different times. Seth and I had started designing kind of a space version of this, and we had started designing an expansion that would have included ships and sailing and things like that. But that was never produced. So it was thought about, but War of Kings didn't end up with any expansions. So you got the summer side of the board here, and then also the winter side of the board here. I recommend playing the winter side of the board, I think, in most cases, actually, because your kingdoms are much closer together. So there's more interaction between the kingdoms on the winter side of the board. There are actually more territories on the board on the summer side of the board. So you're actually further away from one another on the summer side of the board. Now, if you really wanted to get into the economic development of the game, then probably having a bit more space between the kingdoms might be better This is probably the summer side of the board kind of has a longer game, but that gives you more of an opportunity, I think, for economic development. But if you're interested in more conflict and being closer together and actually interacting with the kingdoms more, then the winter side of the board is probably for you. We played the winter side of the board on Dinner and a Board Game. War of Kings comes with a double-sided board for different gameplay experiences. The lush summer side is shown on figure one. Shown in figure one represents the temperate regions of Arrowith, while the gray winter side, shown in figure two, represents the colder northern regions of the ancient Arrowithian Empire. All four sides of the board, whether ocean, ridgeline, or simply the board's edge, are impassable. Artistic features on the board, such as rivers, bridges, ruins, forests, or hills, have no effect on gameplay. Each space on the board is called a territory. The territories that share a border with one another are adjacent. On the summer side of the board, the mountainous region, which can be seen here, is impassable and cannot be moved into or controlled by the Malador. On the winter board, armies may move through the center region, this castle here, but can never stop in it. It can never be controlled by a player or the Malador and is never explored. It is, however, considered adjacent by roads to all of the territories adjacent to it for all purposes. This means players may use this territory to connect settlements to his or her capital for gold generation and to help resupply armies and move armies. Resupply and move armies. Moving through this special space is the only exception to the rule that an army must immediately stop when it moves into a territory not controlled by the player. See movement. So that's actually, that special space there with this castle in the center is actually what allows all of the players on the winter side of the board to be exactly equidistant from one another. You've got an asymmetry here on the summer side of the board, where obviously, like up here, this is the starting position for the yellow player. This is the starting position for the purple player. Down here, you see the shields that tell you where to start. So the purple and green, purple and yellow player are not going to interact very much. So it kind of sets you up to interact with your neighbors. But over on the winter side of the board, because you can all kind of move through this center space with this castle, as if it were all connected by roads, but never stop in it, all players are actually equidistant from one another. So you have equal opportunities for interaction with all other players at the table. That's another reason why I like the winter side of the board. Hey, James. Morning meetings are killing me. This is the good morning meeting, though, right? Hey, Toadstool Hollow. Greetings, Toadstool Hollow. Hey, Vision, if you want to pick up something else, just message me on Discord, and I can work with you. Yeah, just message me. I can work with you. We're small enough; we can definitely do that kind of stuff. So yeah, be aware, free shipping at $99. Especially if you want some mugs and stuff, because I'm shipping those here from my house anyway. The War of Kings is coming from the warehouse, but I'm shipping the mugs and coffee and stuff personally. So you can also see that every territory has one of these icons and emblems in it that tells you what type of resources it generates and what its primary and secondary resources are. So each playable territory is coded with either a red, yellow, green, or blue emblem that corresponds to the colors on the resource dice. A territory generates resources if its color is rolled on the resource dice during construction phase. The resources the territory generates are indicated on the emblem. The large colored symbol indicates the territory's primary resource. The smaller black and white symbol indicates the territory's secondary resource. So here we've got figure 3 and figure 4. This is the resource emblem. So our primary resource in this case is timber. Our secondary resource in this case is wheat. And the territory's color would be red. So this territory generates resources when red is rolled, primary for timber. So it's easier to generate timber, but if your settlements are of sufficient size, then you can also be generating the secondary sources. So our resources are timber, wheat, cattle, and stone. So the color designates the color of the entire territory, not just the color of the primary resource. Therefore, if a settlement of high enough level is present in the territory to generate a secondary resource, it is generated on the same color as the primary resource. The level of the settlement in the territory determines how many units of resources will be generated. So here is how we set up. Each player should choose which side of the board to play. Either the lush summer side, players should choose which side of the board to play, either the lush summer side or the gray winter side, and place the game board within easy reach of all players. Each player chooses a color and associated animal crest displayed on the board. Tables 1 and 2 show the recommended player positions for games with only 2 to 5 players on each board. So you don't have to play. That was another reason that we wanted to have a large number of players, so we can have up to 5 players, or no, excuse me, we'd have up to 6 players. Here are all of our colors: black, red, blue, purple, yellow, and white, or kind of looks like gray. But, you know, gaming night at my house was, when I was growing up, was always something that we did with extended family. So extended family members came over. That was actually one of our problems with Hero Quest, is we always had more heroes than just standard in Hero Quest. So we had to add rules to Hero Quest ourselves for more heroes and things. So that's why we wanted to be sure that we were designing a game that could have up to 6 players. You can have as few as 2, but you can have up to 6. So if you've got more people, you can have up to 6 people play. That was important for our game design perspective. Zero the Blade says, I might have to get this for Beach House game night. That sounds like it would be a good Beach House game. Vision says, what are those 10mm miniatures? Are they for War of Kings? They were additional miniatures for War of Kings. Actually, let me look at that. Those were actually on the Kickstarter page. I was almost getting to those, and then I decided to go look at something else. So yes, there are 10mm miniatures. Well, I'll look at them in just a moment. But there are 10mm miniatures because we had our own custom line of 10mm miniatures made. And you could see them being sculpted up. We weren't able to put those in the base game. So I guess in that sort of sense, there was an expansion. So as a separate thing, though, because the armies in War of Kings in their basic box are cardboard tiles. So they're like tokens, cardboard tokens that show whether they're ready or unready, and you move the armies that way. But we did have custom 10mm miniatures created and sculpted so that if you wanted to, which I certainly did, I made up army units out of those so that the armies actually looked like armies. So I did that. So they don't come pre-painted or anything like that, and you have to assemble them. As far as like assemble the armies, but it comes with bases and it comes with a bunch of different neat 10mm figures, and I like that better personally, just because I like the armies to look like armies. You know, I painted up my War of Kings. If you look at again here on the YouTube channel, because we did War of Kings for Dinner and a Board Game on episode 5, there's also a video where Megan and I are together and we are painting up the War of Kings miniatures, and we're trying to improve the look of the game like we do, you know, improving board games or upgrading board games is one of the series that I was doing on this channel, where we'd go into the workshop with one of our board games and try to paint it up and improve it. So we did that for War of Kings as well, painting it up, getting it to look really nice for Dinner and a Board Game night. And also I had already made all of the miniature armies, but it had all the miniature armies, which I think makes it a better experience. For me, just as far as the display of the game goes at the table. Kyron Kashira says, love this game. Kavshira says, love this game. Thank you. I am so glad. I am so glad. Zero Theory says, yeah, family card games too. Well, we can do that. Might just have to put all of those to put me over 99. We can do that. Just message me so that I don't forget. Let's see. So tables 1 and 2 show the recommended player positions for the game with only 2 or to 5 players for the board. So if you are just playing with a smaller number of players, these are the different positions that we recommended playing in order to increase interaction between the players. Players receive the settlements, villages, towns, and city marker tokens, and armies of their chosen color, as well as a small number of road tokens and damage counters, an economic ledger, and a player reference sheet. See Figure 5 and 6 for illustrations of the game pieces. The players then place a town, a village, an army, a road, and 4 territory markers on the board, as shown in Figure 8, to represent their starting kingdoms. Please consult Figure 7 for the illustrations used in the figures through this rulebook. The fortification pieces, walls, fortresses, and castles are not player specific and should be set to the side of the board. Orange is not an eligible color for a player, as is the color of the Maladorian Marauders, a neutral faction in the game. Set the orange pieces on the side of the board for now. So here we have territory markers here. Those are the circles here. So that's the orange Malador. They have the dragon. Territory markers are all of these circles. Okay, so these are our damage counters. Front and back of damage counters. Road tokens. And here are the armies in the standard game. Front and back. So this tells you whether or not the army is ready or unready. So by which color is flipped up. We made the damage counters have front and back so that you can put the crossed flail and Warhammer here as a damage counter when it's up, or if you need to indicate an unready army when you've got the 10mm miniatures. I did that by turning this over and having the marching army on that side. So not necessary to use front and back when you are using the base game, but if you are using some kind of other miniature as your armies, then you can use the back here to represent that the army has marched and is now unready. So our settlements are over here. We've got villages, towns, and cities. And so our fortification levels are walls, fortresses, and castles. And then you just slide the fortification ring over the settlement. Settlements advance in level from villages to towns to cities. Fortifications advance from walls to fortresses and then to castles. The miniatures are supplied unpainted. For the purposes of illustration in this game, though, I used this symbol for a village and this symbol for a town. So here is everybody's starting setup. Vanessa says this looks super cool. Well, thank you, Vanessa. James says, I love the little town miniatures. How many miniatures would I have to buy to convert all of the armies to miniatures? I will have to look. I'll have to look. All the army miniatures. Yeah, they're on ravenkeep.net. If you go over to ravenkeep.net, let me see. If you go over to shop, if you go to shop now, board games. Oh, no, shop now, 10mm miniatures. So here are the 10mm army packs. I just dropped that into the chat. So you can see our different, we've got dismounted Imperial Knights, armored crossbowmen, lance on barded warhorse, armored outlander axemen. There are only a few of these packs left. I had to we handmade all of these packs. Of course, we just got gigantic stacks, like bags of 10mm miniatures. And so I parceled them all out into little bags. So yeah, the 10mm armies are still there. I really like them. I thought it was a great range of 10mm armies. James Vision says, painting them isn't a problem. I have the full sets for Vallejo games, Vallejo models, and the Army Painter. One day on Crafter's Corner, I want to paint some more because I've got my armies for War of Kings, but I also actually had some War Master size bases cut for laser cutting, and I want to do some Warhammer. I want to set up some War Master size armies using my 10mm line, so that I have some War Master armies. Maybe one day on the Crafter's Corner, we'll be able to do that too. I'm going to say 3 hours, especially the first time through. I wonder how long our dinner and a board game went. So it's the longer game for the night. Hey, Jay. Well, welcome. Good to see you. So, yeah, army miniatures are there. We'll take a look at those again later. So, okay, so each player sets up their starting kingdom like this. So each player begins the game with the control of 4 territories. The capital territory, which is what your shield represents, that's your capital territory. A town is placed in the capital territory. A village is placed directly in front of it at C. and those two territories are connected by a road. So you can see that you put a road down connecting territories by laying over the two adjacent sides. So those two are connected by a road. A ready army is placed in C. So there's an army right there. A ready army is placed in C with the village. Territory markers are placed in all 4 territories. Setup is identical in form regardless of the player and the board being played. So everybody sets up. That's how you begin. Village, town, 4 territories you control, road connection, and army. Remove the blank cards from the event and marauder decks. They can be used later to create your own marauder and event cards. Shuffle the marauder deck and event deck. Place them face down by the game board. Place the dice and blue achievement cards within easy reach of all the players. An illustration of the game cards can be found on figure 9. So we've got right here, the red is the event card, the achievement card is in blue here, and then the marauder deck right over here is in the orange. Divide the resources into stacks of each resource and place them near the board. See figure 10 for illustrations of each resource. So here are resource cards, and they're small, and actually they fit very well into business card holders. They're the same like dimension as far as lengthwise as business cards. And so what we did is we actually got some of those acrylic business card holders that are sort of like a stair step that go up. And I think you can see them even when we're playing on dinner and a board game, so that you've got an easy way to like display and hold all of the resource cards. Vision says, all right, this will place me over the 99. Should I place the order for the miniatures now and we work out the shipping later? I'll tell you what, it's probably easier if I just do a custom invoice to you. What you want. Let me know what you want. I'll send you a custom invoice without the shipping. That'll put you over the $99. I think that's probably easiest. Or on the other hand, it's probably just as easier if I refund it. So if you put in, actually, it's probably easier. That way you get exactly what you want. I don't have to go rebuild a custom invoice. If you put that in, I'll just refund that shipping. That sounds like the thing to do. I'll do that after the stream. That's probably easiest. So we've got resource cards for 1 unit of timber, wheat, cattle, and stone, and then these are used for 3 units of timber, wheat, and stone. Stack the gold coins as illustrated in figure 11 nearby. The resources in gold in this reserve are collectively known as the market. Distribute starting resources in gold to each player as follows. Everybody gets 7 gold, 5 timber, 7 wheat, 7 cattle, and 2 stone. And this goes into your stockpile. Using table 3, which is shown, which shows how many resources in gold each territory generates based on the level of the settlement in the territory, players should fill out their economic ledgers in order to easily track what resources his or her kingdom will generate, and then different colors on the resource when different colors on the resource dice are rolled. So this is how you generate resources. So if you have control only of a territory, that doesn't get any gold for you, but it does get you 1 unit of the primary resource. So if you go out and capture territories, when that territory's color is rolled, you get 1 primary resource. A village generates 3 gold, but only if settlements can only generate gold if they are connected to the player's capital territory by a road. So that's when your road building becomes important, because you can have settlements that are just out there in other places, but if they're not connected to your capital territory by the road network, then you do not generate gold. But villages get you 3 gold when they're connected by the road network and 2 primary resources when it's rolled. The town generates 6 gold when connected to your capital territory by a road, 3 primary resources, and 1 of the secondary resource. Cities generate 9 gold, 4 of the primary resources, and then 2 of the secondary resources. And then here are our gold coins over here. We've got 1 gold coin, and the larger coins are for 5. Players should also calculate the amount of gold they will generate per turn and note it on their ledger. In a standard setup, each player begins the game generating 9 gold. See figure 12 for an example of how to fill out the economic ledger. Also see the game boards and settlements for more information. So that's true that everybody is generating the exact same amount of gold at the start of the game. But because every player is on a different part of the board, even though their setup is identical, their resources are different. We made sure that every player has different resources around them. So even though your kingdom setup is identical, what resources you're going to generate on different colors when they're rolled are all different. So that's why trade becomes important. You can trade between players, because just because red is rolled, that doesn't mean that everybody's going to be getting the same resources on red. Okay, yep, we'll handle that soon. Thank you, Vision. Thank you so much. Okay, it is important to note the difference between what is recorded on the economic ledger and what resource cards and gold are in the player's stockpile. The economic ledger simply records what resources the player will receive when a particular color is rolled on the resource dice during the construction phase. The resource cards and gold in a player's stockpile are what the player has available to spend during the construction phase. So yeah, what you mark down is what you will get when certain colors are rolled, but your actual stock of cards for the resources and the gold are what you actually have available to spend to build stuff with. So before the first round begins, the lead player is selected. Each player places a territory marker in the center and mixes them up. One player should blindly draw a territory marker from the pile. The player whose territory marker is drawn will be the lead player. The territory markers are returned and the first round begins. So here is an example of the economic ledger right here. So you can see every player has one of those. So here is the black players set up on the summer side of the board. So you can see that black player has 4 different territories right here that they control. This is their capital territory here. They've got a village, they've got a town here in the capital. They've got a village out here, and they've got a road that's connecting the town and the village. So that's why they're generating 9 gold, because this generates 6, that generates 3 gold. So they're getting 9 gold on this turn. And then on yellow, they're over here. They have control of 1 yellow territory, which is generating timber. So they'll get 1 unit of timber if yellow is rolled. Red is their capital territory. So because that is a town, they are going to get 3 units of cattle and 1 unit of timber, because the town generates secondary resources. Blue over here, they just have control over it, so they will get 1 unit of stone if blue is rolled. And then green over here, they get 2 units of wheat, because that's where their village is. Everybody starts with 3 achievement points as well. In order to win the game, you're trying to get to 13 achievement points. You're trying to get 10 additional achievement points. But everybody starts with 3, because 3, you get achievement points for having villages and towns. So a village actually gets you 1 achievement point, and a town gets you 2. So that's why everybody starts with 3. So you're trying to get 10 more. Oh, James says, looks like Vision and I got the last 2 dismounted Imperial Knight pack. Yeah, I think they were the ones that were running out. All right, well, they will ship out to you. Thank you. Thank you, James. Okay, so gameplay. So the game, each round proceeds in 6 different phases: construction, event die, movement and exploration, battle resolution, and supply. Each players play the construction phase simultaneously. So that is the simultaneous play. The remaining phases are then played in sequence around the table, starting with the lead player. So when the construction phase begins, everybody receives gold. All players receive gold based on the settlements connected to the player's capital by the road network. See settlements. So even on the first turn, everybody collects more gold. Gold becomes very important, particularly as the game progresses, because you're going to end up with, probably, if you're building out your kingdom economically, you're going to be generating more gold than you're probably going to have resources. But that's okay, because you can use gold to buy resources from the market. So if you've got a bunch of gold coming in, it's probably going to be gold that's going to give you the liquidity to get some of the resources that you need. But you can also trade among other players. But if you can't find another player to trade with you, you can always purchase stuff from the market. So receive gold in the construction phase. Check for support. Then all players check to ensure that their armies are supported by their settlements and provisions are provided or purchased if necessary. See support in the armies section for more information. You can't pursue just a completely militaristic strategy and do nothing but build armies, because your armies, we wanted to be sure that the economic health of the kingdom actually supported the size military that you were building. So the number of villages and towns and things like that indicate the number of armies that you can actually, that your kingdom can economically support. So if you've started to build out more, then you're going to have to pay in order to support your armies. In addition, pay additional amounts in order to buy provisions for your armies. So you can't just sit there and build nothing but armies. That won't work. You're going to run out of cash. You have to have an economic foundation. Resource generation. Next, one player rolls all 3 resource dice. So there are 3 resource dice. You're generating 3 dice worth of colors a turn. Now, sometimes a die may generate, the dice may generate a color more than once, in which case you double up on it. But resource generation. Next, one player rolls all 3 resource dice to determine which color territory resources are generated this round. Each color, blue, red, and yellow, and green, are depicted on each side. Figure 13. See Figure 13. The colors on the resource dice have no correlation to kingdom colors. Each player receives resource cards based on the colors of the resource dice. So everybody is generating resources. One player will roll the dice, but then everybody looks at their economic ledger and sees what type of resources they generate based on the rolls of that dice. Each player receives resource cards based on the colors shown on the resource dice, his or her control of settlements, of territories of that color, and the level of settlements within them. Each player is responsible for collecting his or her own resources. Players should keep their resources and gold in front of them during gameplay and visible to other players. So that's not intended to be secret information. Table 3 provides the number of units of resources a territory generates based on whether the table has only control of the player has only control of the territory or has settlements within it. We looked at that. If players keep their economic ledgers up to date throughout the round as settlements are built, upgraded, captured, or raised, then the players can simply consult the ledger to determine what resources should be collected when any particular color is rolled. A territory may generate resources more than once if 2 or more of the resource dice roll the same color. For instance, if all 3 resource dice roll blue, then the players receive resources from the blue territories 3 times. Then construction begins. After players have collected all their gold and resources, the players simultaneously exchange any or all of their resources and gold with the market to build and upgrade settlements, fortifications, roads, and armies. See Table 4 for the prices of each of these sections, for the prices and the section settlements, fortifications, and armies for the specifics of their constructions. You do have to build these things in order of level. You can't just, an empty territory, you can't just build a city in. You got to build a village there first. Once a player has played the requisite cost for any item, it is placed on the board immediately. Players may bargain, negotiate, and trade with other players or the market at any time. The players may make trades among themselves in any manner that is mutually agreeable to all parties involved in the trade. It's solely up to the players to keep track of any agreements and enforce their terms. If players choose to trade with the market, they may do so at a rate of 4 of any one resource for 1 of any other, or 5 gold for any resource. Once all players have completed the construction phase, players should update their economic ledgers to reflect any changes in the gold or resources they will be entitled to next turn. Any gold or resource that was not spent during the construction phase remain in the player's stockpile to be used on a future turn. This concludes the simultaneously played part of the round, and then play passes to the lead player for that player's event die phase. So here is our pricing right here. So here are the different things you can build: road, village, town, city, walls, fortresses, castle, army. That's buying provisions if your army is not supported. If you have exceeded your kingdom's economic ability to supply your armies, it costs 5 gold to keep an army supplied in the field, or provision an army to keep it in the field. Resupply army, that basically lets you heal an army's hit points for 2 gold. So you've got gold cost, timber cost, wheat cost, cattle cost, and stone cost. And of course, not everything costs all of them. So that is our pricing table. And everybody does have one of these. That's part of your resource card or your player reference cards. Everybody has one of these. We put enough for every player to have one of these. So it's sitting there in front of the players during the construction phase. The event die phase. So each player, the lead player rolls the event die shown in figure 14. So here is what the event die looks like, all the faces on the event die. If the event die shows the axe, then the resource die is ignored and the player draws the top card of the Marauder deck. These cards allow the player to take temporary control of the Malodor in the manner described on the card. The player reads the card aloud, immediately follows the instructions, and then discards it. If the Marauder deck is depleted during the game, reshuffle and the discard pile and continue. See the Maladorian Marauders for more information. And so it's actually good when you roll the Marauders for you. I think there are certain situations where technically you could end up having to make them attack yourself. But most of the time, it is good when you roll the Marauders because that means that you're getting to take control of them on your turn. They're not attacking you this turn. You're getting to take control of them and doing something to wreak havoc with your neighbors. Or even somebody on the other side of the board, actually. It doesn't matter. The other faces of the event die indicate a level of settlement. The V stands for village, the T stands for town, and the C stands for city. The flag represents control of a territory, whether or not it has a settlement in it. If the event die shows a flag, V, T, or C, the player checks to see if he or she has a settlement of that level or higher in a territory of the color shown on the resource die. So remember, you roll the event die along with a single resource die. So if you roll the Marauders, then you draw the top Marauder card and act as it tells you to act. If you roll, for instance, a blue and V, you check to see if you have a village on blue. If you do, then you get an event card. This is actually one of the things that we changed up for the gameplay of War of Kings during Dinner and a Board Game. In order to simplify this, now what we did is we just had everybody draw an event card on their turn. So you got to see if everybody got an event card rather than having to see, well, now, wait a minute. Do I get an event card if I've got a village on blue? We just let everybody draw one at the start of their turn. I think that's simpler, and I think it works better. Now, in order to do the Marauders, though, what we did is we just had everybody draw a card. But for that game, I glued some Marauder cards to some of the event card backs. And so that was just a deck that was shuffled together. So sometimes when you drew an event card, you would have just Marauder attack, and then you could you would just have one of the Marauder cards and do exactly what it says at that time. So I think that might be a way that I would adjust this. This works, but I think everybody likes drawing event cards. So why not just have everybody draw an event card at the start of their turn? And sometimes the event card may say, go do something with the Marauders. If the player controls such a territory, though, then he or she draws the top card from the event deck. Event card should be kept secret from other players until he or she chooses to play it in a situation described on the card. There is no limit to the number of event cards a player may hold. If the event deck is depleted during the course of the game, shuffle all discarded event cards and continue play. Players never receive resources because of the role of the resource die in the event phase. So then you go to your movement phase. After the player has resolved the event die, that also makes it go a bit faster. So everybody, when it's your turn, draw a card. Movement phase. After the player has resolved the event die, then the player may move any or all of his ready armies. The player is not required to move any armies. Any army may move from one territory to an adjacent territory, but may move 2 territories if it moves only between territories connected by roads. So that's a military benefit to your road network. As you start to build out your road network, you're going to be able to move armies faster to your perimeter if you also have a well-developed road network. So road networks help you economically because they generate tax revenue, generate gold because you're connecting villages to, or your settlements to your capital. But they also help you out militarily because they're going to help your armies move faster. An army may move only once per turn. After an army is moved, it is flipped over from ready to unready. And also armies, when they are built, they are unready. So you can't both build an army and move it in the same turn. There's no limit to the number of armies that may occupy a single territory. The movement of each army is completely independent of the others. For instance, 2 armies in a single territory may both move into the same territory, each move into different territories, or one or both of them may choose not to move at all. Likewise, armies from different territories may all choose to move into a single territory. If an army moves into a territory that is not controlled by the other player or the Malodor, then the territory will be explored in the exploration phase. If the territory is controlled by another kingdom or the Malodor but does not contain an army or a settlement, that territory is conquered. See conquering a territory. Otherwise, the player has made an offer of battle to the forces in that territory. The offer of battle is resolved in the battle resolution phase. Once the player has moved all of its armies that he or she wants, the exploration phase begins. So players will have to explore uncontrolled territories in order to expand their kingdoms. If a player moved an army into a territory that is not controlled by another player or the Malador, then the players roll resource die and a purple bonus die and consult the exploration table. Page 9, page 31. Table 9, page 31. So this right here is the exploration table. So if you're moving into an unexplored territory, you roll one of the resource dice and you roll one of the bonus dice. And then that particular combination that you rolled tells you what happened to you. Now, of course, if you roll a blank, the territory is empty, they conquer without incident. But otherwise, things can happen like you discover 3 readily available units of that territory's primary resource and 2 units of the secondary resource that may be immediately added to your stockpile. You also conquer the territory without incident. There is a Maladorian village in the territory. The player may choose to offer battle to the Malador or withdraw the exploring army or armies to the territory in which it came. There are also plagues. Sometimes you might encounter a plague. So it might be something good. It might be something bad. But that's the exploration phase. We may have to look at this game a second day, too. As we're coming up here on an hour. And I do want to do a little bit of day planning. Let's see. Roads, militia. Yep, we'll definitely have to do a second day on this. So the exploration phase, we'll get to, I guess we will get to, we'll get to the end of this section. So that's how the exploration phase is resolved. Then we go to the battle resolution phase. All offers of battle are resolved in the manner described in the battle resolution section. If the player is offering battle in more than one territory this round, the offers of battle are resolved in the order the player directs. And then the supply phase. The player may resupply any ready armies that are either in a territory with a town or city that the player controls, or in a territory connected to a town or city by a road network that only passes through territories the player controls. See figure 15. Resupplying an army costs 2 gold and removes all damage counters from the army. At the conclusion of each turn, the player should update their economic ledgers to correctly reflect any changes in resources or gold generation due to capturing territories or other events. If a player's resources or gold changes on another player's turn, such as when one of the player's kingdoms are conquered or raised by another kingdom, the player should update his or her economic ledger then as well. Once the lead player has completed the supply phase, play passes to the left. The next player's turn begins with the event die phase and passes through all phases of the supply phase. This continues until every player has had a turn, which concludes the round. At the end of each round, the players tally their achievement points and check to see them if any of them has won the game, because you're trying to get to 13 achievement points. See winning the game. If not, all unreadied armies on the board are flipped over to the ready side, and another round begins with the construction phase. The lead player remains the same throughout the game. So here's our armies eligible for resupply. And actually, I think this is another thing that I changed up when we played on Dinner and a Board Game. Instead of having the supply phase be here at the end of your turn, I think that you could probably move that to the construction phase as well. Because the thing that's kind of strange about it is that this is when you're supposed to resupply your armies. It costs you 2 gold, which means you have to make sure that you keep 2 gold from the construction phase. If you're sitting there building stuff, you might use up all of your gold, but you have to kind of remember that, hey, if I want to resupply my armies and get their hit points back, then I need to have 2 gold that are available at the end of my turn. I think I would not do that. And if I were revising this game, I would not do that again. I would just say that during the construction phase, if you have armies that are relevant or eligible for supply, pay 2 gold then and get them resupplied. I think that's how I would do that. I don't think that hurts anything if you and it does make things that a little bit faster. It also moves that to the simultaneous play version phase of the game, so it's also less time on somebody's actual turn. So I think I would make that change. All right. Maybe add a PDF with print and play cards with that mod. You're talking about with the event cards. Could do that. Yeah. Yeah, because I just had extra decks sitting around, and so I just made them up for the purposes of that game. But yeah, that could be done. Robert says sounds fun. That's what house rules are for, Vision says. So yeah, so again, there are just a few of these left. So if you want one of these, so there should be 10 of these left now, because Vision got one, somebody else might. Yeah, there were not many copies made in general years ago, and I thought they were all gone, but there were 2 cartons of them left, so I did send them out to the warehouse so they could be on ravenkeep.net. So maybe I should put so the 10mm miniatures are here, free shipping on orders of $99 or above. Ravenkeep 10mm miniatures. And then War of Kings itself. Well, here's just the link to all of the board games. Enchantress is there as well. So you could get War of Kings and Enchantress. Enchantress is the second board game I designed. That's a link to the board game category on ravenkeep.net. So check that out. Okay, so I guess we will come back to that to learn more about War of Kings. And then we'll do Enchantress again. We'll do Enchantress as well. That's the game of wizardly combat and spell casting. Okay, so what do I do here? I'm running a little. What time is it? Okay, tonight. I'm not really. See, my brother and I did do some design for an expansion with roads and villages, with ships and things like that. And we did also look at doing a sci-fi one. We developed that for a little while, but I'm not really thinking about doing a second edition right now. If I were going to do it, and this is not anything, like for watching these streams, it's not like I don't have plenty of other things to do. So I'm not trying to return to doing another major board game right now. But if I were going to revise, do another strategy board game, I would do a second edition. It would be like second edition rules of War of Kings, but I would put it in either Theophany or the world of Theophany or Rabivania. It would be themed to either of those worlds. Probably the most appropriate world would be Theophany. And so instead of just doing, we just kind of did a generic kind of fantasy world that we never really developed or did anything like that era with for War of Kings. But what I think I would do is I would take the War of Kings rules, and then instead you would be working with armies of angels as the angels are fighting Jinn and the different factions and things like that. So I would theme it into one of the worlds that we're working on. Probably less looking at that Enchantress and coffee, Mike says. So, yeah, there are no plans for that. Because I'm trying to move increasingly digital. But if there were, I would do a second edition, but I would put it in one of my worlds that we are developing here. All right, well, I was going to do a big rock thing, but I started a little bit late, and it's getting close to, it's about 10 to 11 right now. But I've got a bunch of stuff I've got to do, because I was actually completely out of action yesterday. I was trying to be really productive yesterday and move some big rocks, but I got uncharacteristically sick yesterday. And so I really didn't get anything done. So Zero the Blade says, I know that feeling. I'm currently trying to create a tabletop RPG right now. It's an overhaul mess. Yeah, see, that's what I was working on. I was working on, as far as games go, a new game goes, I was working on Fated Edge, which we will get back to here on this channel. But I'm more interested in just being able to do the role-playing game right now, because that is just a book. That one can be done with just being a book, right? And not actually all the physical production of a whole nother board game again. I'm kind of... there's still a few physical products that I want to do, but primarily I'm trying to go toward print on demand and digital. So tonight I'm going to do a Crafter's Corner. I'm not sure who we're going to be talking to. It might be Cameron. Is it time to talk to Cameron? Cameron's fantastic. I did a fantastic discussion with him, and people who have just found my discussion, my tabletop discussion with Cameron on the nature of good and evil and storytelling, have said, wow, this was a fantastic conversation. So it might be him. I'm not sure who is up. And I do want to go over his conversation on Crafter's Corner because I want to invite him back to talk about the fall and the nature of storytelling and story structure and things like that. So we're going to do the Crafter's Corner tonight because I've got to plow forward and getting all of these Elf Quest miniatures painted because I want them done so that we can get to actually doing a show. So that's happening, but that's going to give us 6, 7, let's get the 8 hours. All right. So everybody, 8 hours. I'm going to sit here and write down my big rocks. See, my big rocks haven't been working because I got like this gigantic stack of partial index cards about things that are big rocks that I've got to move that I actually have not been able to get finished. So, I mean, this is ridiculous. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get another one of these index cards and I'm going to pick the 3 biggest. And I basically already know what they are. I'm not going to do creative stuff today because I've actually got big rocks I got to move as far as actually it has to do with product creation and manufacturing that I've got to resolve. And then maybe I can start writing again tomorrow and things like that. So I will see everybody tonight. Go be productive, be creative. I will see everybody tonight for the Crafter's Corner. Until then, grind on.